We are on day 8 of this occupation. Our city is under siege. This group is emboldened by the lack of enforcement by every level of government. They are terrorizing our residents, torturing them with incessant honking, threatening them and preventing them from leading their lives. People cannot go to work or open their businesses. They cannot sleep, walk, shop, go to medical appointments, or enjoy their neighborhood. This group is a threat to our democracy. What we're seeing is bigger than just a City of Ottawa problem. This is a nationwide insurrection. This is madness. We need a concrete plan to put an end to this now. To date, we have taken all of the actions requested of us. Chief, I have called this meeting to ask one specific question in accordance with the Police Services Board mandate, which is to provide adequate and effective policing to the citizens of Ottawa. And a reminder to all, the definition of adequate and effective policing means all of the following functions provided in accordance with the standards set out in the regulations, including the standards with respect to the avoidance of conflicts of interest and with the requirement of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the Human Rights Code. 1, crime prevention. 2, law enforcement. 3, maintaining the public peace. 4, emergency response. 5, assistance to victims of crime. And 6, any other prescribed policing functions. Let me be clear. I understand that the board is not allowed under provincial law to direct police operations, nor do we seek to do so. But we must ensure that you have the resources you need to do your job. So, Chief, in your opinion, as the Chief of Police in the City of Ottawa, do you believe that you are still able to provide, given the fluid situation of this occupation, adequate and effective policing to the residents of our city? And if not, what are the legal authorities you require? What resources do you require from the board, and what assistance can we provide at this time? You can go ahead, Chief.
I was just, thank you. You sent your notes over to me, and I was listening to you speak, and I was trying to read through your notes, and you said a lot of very powerful things, and with a lot of passion, as I would expect from a leader of your quality and your commitment to this city. And I reflect on that, and I share that. But I am reflecting on what you said, and I'm looking at some of the words here, and what stands out to me, and I will provide my response, but I'm reflecting on your impassioned statement. The city is under siege. This is a threat to our democracy. It is a nationwide insurrection. This is madness. And then you've sought a concrete plan, and I will lay out what situation is it today, and what our plan is, and I will reflect on the definition of adequate and effective policing. But before I do that, let me just, in the briefest response, extemporaneous, as again, you've called this meeting within the last hour, and we've come here as quickly as we can. We weren't prepared for what you were going to ask or the nuances of it, but so please just take this as an extemporaneous attempt to respond to the genuine, authentic efforts of the board here. The comments that I've reflected on, as I look at the definition of adequate and effective policing, there is literally nothing in that definition of adequate and effective policing that could resolve a city under siege that is in a democracy threatened by a nationwide insurrection driven by madness. I think you've just, in your own wonderful words, described what my police service and I have been trying to manage on behalf of this city for 8 solid days. A police service under the Police Service Act was never created The legislation supporting the Police Service Act was never contemplated. The oath of office that I and my officers swore were never intended to deal with a city under siege, a threat to our democracy, a nationwide insurrection driven by madness. There is no concrete plan for such a scenario as you described. We have, through the efforts of Deputy Bell, Christiane Huneau, the mayor and his staff, we've been able to shut down the GoFundMe program. That's a temporary reprieve because the funds are already moving in different directions. We have, through the efforts of Deputy Bell, Christiane Huneau, the mayor and his staff, we've been able to shut down the GoFundMe program. That's a temporary reprieve because the funds are already moving in different directions. We are now going after supply and fuel coming into the area through investigations and intelligence operations and interdictions, all of which were underway yesterday, fully underway today. Let me return to completing my answer, and I apologize. This is just me trying to give a fulsome answer to an important question, so I apologize again. We have seen the installation of, I will give the board an update on the latest numbers around what we've done in terms of enforcement investigations. I'll leave that to Deputies Ferguson and Bell after I wrap up, assuming you want those numbers, but they're available to you as updated as they can be. Ottawa residents are frustrated and angry. So are we, quite frankly. They have every right to be. Their lives in our city are being severely impacted by unlawful acts on our streets. The Ottawa Police Service, our policing partners, are doing everything within our power. I think it's very germane to the way you framed your statement earlier on. We're doing everything within the power of the Police Services Act as it's been designed as legislation and as we have been resourced under that legislation.
Can I just express my frustration with everything on behalf of our community? I think there was a lot of hope yesterday, Chief, when you outlined the surge and contain strategy and the sense of urgency to get this thing under control. Despite that, I think people are expressing frustration because they're not seeing any results. To hear that we need legal advice on what can be done to clamp down on some of the behaviors it's baffling. There is criminal behavior happening down there. And I think if we could see the officers in the neighborhoods, have we gone in and arrested people who are causing trouble at night? I think if we could see some concrete things happening, maybe people wouldn't be so frustrated. We see Quebec City taking action. We see Toronto taking action. I mean, obviously with hindsight, looking what's going on here. But at the same time, you need officers. We're getting more officers, but we need to be told if there's a concrete plan in place that we can start arresting people. How do we know that things are going to blow up if we haven't done anything except monitor and keep the peace? This can't continue. And this is day 8. Can I just say that knowing that we haven't been in touch with the NCC to decide about policing Confederation Park is mind-boggling to me. Have we not put all the levels of government and the decision makers in a room to determine, because this is an unprecedented situation, that we have to take unprecedented decisions and move? Because we're giving it the signal to all these people who are coming into town that it's a free-for-all. You know, they can take tires off trucks. They can put up buildings. They can bring in fuel. They can take over our stadium. We've given them the signal that it's a come and party in our town. And if I'm expressing frustration, not just as a board member and a city councillor, but as a resident of the city, to see about our colleagues and our fellow residents downtown being so hard put upon. I believe it when I hear my city councillors, the city councillors downtown say there's no police presence in the neighborhoods and people have been left on their own. We want to know what the plan is. We want to know concretely what is going to happen. Are we going to start making arrests? Or do we just wait for more intelligence? I'm assuming other cities are getting intelligence, but they're still taking concrete action. So please, I apologize if I'm off base here as a board member, but we're not getting answers. We're not getting the answers that we require here. Please, I'm begging you, give us some answers. What's going to be done here?
Chief, I called this meeting today to ask a specific question, which was, do you have the resources you need to provide adequate and effective policing in the city of Ottawa? And the answer that I heard from you is no, even though you got in the middle of the call 250 more RCMP officers. What has been described in all of the open fronts all over the city is that you are overwhelmed. The police service has been overwhelmed, and that this is bigger than the police service. And I needed to hear that answer today because we need to take extraordinary action. And maybe it's something that Member Sweda was getting at, but I have some questions for our legal counsel, David White, because what I'm hearing on this call is, you know, we're taking one criminal charge at a time, but there are so many people out there engaged in a broader act of mayhem that we need to be able to bring it all under control. And I'm wondering what levers there are. I'm wondering if we could be using, and this is to you, David White, if we could be using Section 63 of the Criminal Code, unlawful assembly, and if it would be possible to get a judge to declare under that section of the Criminal Code an unlawful assembly, which I understand would allow the mayor to then declare a riot, and in turn would allow us to do some mass arrests. Now, of course, we would need people to do that, but it would at least allow us to address the situation. I know others have talked about an injunction, so I would like to hear the legal aspects of what we can do to bring this under control now.
Councillor, all of those things are things that my office and my team are looking at, all in conjunction with their colleagues with the Ottawa Police. There is no singular answer. As you've heard from a policing perspective, there's no singular legal answer as to what levers we might pull, what orders we might obtain to bring this to an end. The work that my office is doing is all with a view of assisting and supporting the operational plans that are being put in place by Ottawa Police and their law enforcement colleagues. So with respect to Section 63, we have looked at that from our perspective, Chair. That is a somewhat archaic section. We have not actually been able to find any occasion where it's been invoked. And again, you know, taking these steps, even taking the steps of an injunction, for example, one, there are certain challenges that are associated with that. From an operational context, there are challenges that come from a legal context as well. As you saw today with the effort to obtain an injunction in the class action that's been commenced, the judge hearing that opined that he's not even sure how he would frame an order that would be effective and enforceable. So these are all things that, as I say, my office is examining, and we will provide updates either through the police as those kind of operational imperatives develop, or through council. Certainly, if we believe that there is an effective tool that can be deployed, then that is something that we're looking at.
Mr. White, how long will it take? Because we are in such a crisis situation. I would think we would want to be in court today asking if we could use the Criminal Code Section 63 to declare an unlawful assembly. We need to get on with this now. So, like, I don't know what the legal roadblocks are. I understand that you have to put a case together, but this is an urgent situation. So how long will it take to get to court to get a declaration that we need to arrest this situation?
Councillor, again, or Chair, my apologies. Chair, whether the route to resolving this is one that ends with mass arrests is not a decision that my office can make, as you can appreciate. As to whether that is a viable tool is a discussion that obviously we have with our colleagues. We're in constant contact with the Chief's legal counsel in that regard. As I say, if there is a view that these are an effective tool that can serve to bring us to a peaceful conclusion, then those are certainly things that we will pursue.
Would asking the mayor to declare a state of emergency have any immediate positive impact on this situation?
Chair, from the standpoint of legal authority, the declaration of an emergency under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act does little. It may provide some relief from some of the strictures that we operate under from a procurement standpoint, but it does not imbue the mayor or the city with any additional legal authority. There are provisions, for example, if the province declares an emergency, there are specific powers that exist in the premier and in the provincial cabinet, but from the beyond the kind of symbolic value of a declaration of a state of emergency under the provincial legislation, there's no additional authority that would provide either to the city or to the police.
Mr. White, can you perhaps tell us who has the authority to declare a state of emergency that will give us the tools that we need to bring this to a halt? Is it the province of Ontario? Is it the federal government under the Emergencies Act? Who is it?
Chair, I regret, I'm not in a position to tell you as to which level of government or who might exercise the authority to bring this to an end, quite frankly, without an idea as to what is necessary to bring this situation to an end. As you've heard from the chief and others, the situation that the city of Ottawa finds itself as the place that this is happening, certainly from my experience, this is unprecedented. There are authorities, as you say, with respect to declarations of emergency. The federal legislation, I think what you're referring to is the Emergencies Act that was passed in 1988 as the successor to the War Measures Act. There are extraordinary powers that are available under that. That is, as you can expect, an extraordinary step. There are sections we don't obviously deal with it with the municipality. There are sections that provide for the declaration of a public order emergency, but I am not aware of any instance that they have been invoked, certainly in decades.
Well, this, in my mind, is an extraordinary emergency, and we need extraordinary measures. And I believe that we need to ask every level of government to use the powers and the authorities that they have to declare the emergencies that we need to bring this situation to a peaceful ending. We cannot allow this kind of terrorism in our community to continue in this way. And so I would implore our legal minds to tell us what we need to do today, who we need to ask for what authority to help us to bring this to a conclusion.
Subscribe to the Dummy Funnies.